whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are kind, if there be any virtue, and if there is any praise, think on these things. He tells us that God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of peace and love and of a sound mind. You see, which tells us that what Jesus said, according to your faith, be it done unto you. What your faith is what you believe in, the attitude you find yourself in all the time. And you know, the word attitude or habit, it comes from a German word. You know, when you, during those days, when you wear a cloak, our brothers and sisters from Volta regions used to call it avodika. You know, avodika. When you wear the same clothes every day, and you see avodika. And in Germany, they say habit. That is what you have, the attitude that you have. When you wear the same attitude always, that is how people recognize us. That is why they say this is a good man, this is a bad man, this is this, because your habits lead you to act in a certain way. And when they say your state of consciousness determines your experiences, it just says that what you think about is what you become. The Buddha said you are what you think about every day. So every day, say to yourself, every morning when you wake up, say to yourself, I am a child of God. I am a child of God. That is true about you. And as a child of God, I am whole, I am free, I am wealthy. You know, I happen to be friends with the University of Healing in America. And the leader, the late Dr. Herbert Bailey, are simple phrases that he teaches his students to stay healthy. He says, when you find yourself, feeling sick, just go get yourself or start saying to yourself, I am whole and healthy. I'm whole and healthy. I'm whole and healthy. Just this past week, I was telling Cyril, last Sunday, I opened, when I went home, I saw that they have opened the door to my room. And I was lying down and I heard mosquitoes. Lately mosquitoes have come to the mountain. And we took the mosquitoes from Accra. I took some from Lahore to the mountain. And you know what happened? We take them there and they acclimatize to the weather. And lately it has been hot. And mosquitoes, they like hot places. And so Monday morning, my body was feeling feverish. I called Cyril. I said, Cyril, I slept in a room full of mosquitoes last night. They really chopped my body. They chopped the blood proper. And now I'm feeling feverish. And I asked him, can you get me my Sudashan and Giloy Bati for that to get rid of this thing. He put the things in my bag. It was yesterday that I found that the things were still in my bag. But when I started feeling, feverish, I just went into the massage chair, laid in the massage chair, and I started telling myself, my body is whole and perfect. My body is whole and perfect. And when it was time for us to leave, I left. 2 hours later, I'd forgotten that I was feeling feverish. And that was the end of the mosquito bites. When I went home, when I was going home, I bought some mosquito spray at Medina. When I got home, I sprayed the whole room, and I gave some to my brother to spray his room, because he also said he had some mosquitoes. Every Sunday, the gentleman who lives with me, he comes to make my bed for me. And when he makes the bed, they say I don't open my windows. So he opens the door. He opens the main door. And then he says he wants air to fill the whole house. And the mosquitoes are outside. When you open the doors, where will they go? They will come inside. They think that you have given them a free invitation to come and suck blood. And when they come, they tell their friend, hey, Mujani. We don't kill them to say Shemise Muja. They chop us proper. And so, these mosquitoes did it to me. But to get the malaria, when I started saying my body is whole and perfect, my body is whole and perfect, I didn't feel it again. My state of consciousness determined my experience. You understand? And so, watch your mental conversation. If you want to know your state of consciousness, watch your mental conversation. Look, my guru said to us when he taught us creative imagination, he said when he was in training, he saw that Paramount Sogananda always had a brand new Cadillac every year. And so, as a disciple, when he started lecturing, he wanted to buy his first car, a Cadillac. And he knew creative imagination. So he would go to bed and see Cadillac parked at the, he was living in an apartment complex. He would see a Cadillac parked in their parking lot. White Cadillac. He said Paramount Sogananda had a blue-black Cadillac, but he wanted a white Cadillac. He saw 3 white Cadillacs, but none of them belonged to him. And you know why they did not belong to him? Because he saw white Cadillac, but he didn't see himself owning the white Cadillac. Reverend Ike says, what you see is what you get. When I was coming, so when I heard him, lecture on that, to give us an idea of how to creatively imagine, when I was about to come to Ghana, one day Roy called me into his office and he said, Samuel, start getting ready because you'll be going to Ghana soon. And I took it to heart. I went home, I looked in my closet, I saw clothing there, but I had 2 suitcases. The clothing I had wouldn't even fill 1 suitcase. Because I didn't need a lot of clothing whilst I was at Lakemore. And I said, what kind of clothing will I take to Accra? Then I remembered, creative imagination. I went and I lay down. And you see, there is this statement in the book of Psalms, Psalm 4, verse 4. 4:4, Psalm 4, verse 4. But when you read the whole that whole 4 Psalm, Let me get to, I'm now in Job. When you read the whole psalm, it says, "Hear me when I call, O God of my righteousness. Thou hast enlarged me when I was in distress. Have mercy upon me and hear my prayer. O ye sons of men, how long will ye turn my glory into shame? How long will you love vanity and seek after leasing, Selah? But know that the Lord has set apart him that is godly for himself. The Lord will hear when I call unto him." And then this is the verse 4. "Stand in awe and sin not. Commune with your own heart upon your bed, and be still, Selah. Offer the sacrifices of righteousness, and put your trust in the Lord. There be many that say, Who will show us any good? Lord, lift thou up the light of thy countenance upon us. Thou hast put gladness in my heart, more than in the time that their corn and their wine increased. I will both lay me down in peace and sleep, for thou, Lord, only makest me dwell in safety." You see, it says, stand in awe and sin not. Commune with your own heart on your bed and be still. So, I used to love this particular psalm. And when Roy said that to me, I went and looked at the things that I had, and I said, if I have to bring something to Ghana, I know what to do. So I lay down on my bed. And the psalm said, stand in awe and sin not. Sin is to think in error. Sin is to think that I have nothing. And so I first said, okay, what are the things that will be needed when I get to Ghana? I said, all right, I will need a bed. And so at that time, I loved water beds. I still love water beds, but I don't sleep on one now because it's been busted. I saw myself and some children stand on a water bed and they say, hey, this water bed, this is water bed. And then at that time, my dad had bought an Opel GT. Those of you who are old know Opel GT. You see, at that time, I didn't want an American car because I knew that in Ghana, not many American cars lasted long. And so I knew that as for Opel, we can get the parts in Ghana. So Opel GT, I said, Opel GT, only 2 people can sit in it. If I'm going out with my father and my mother, one of them will have to drop. And so I need something that looks like an Opel GT. And the Opel Manta, the front looks like an Opel GT. And so I opted for Opel Manta, and I saw myself driving, not that I saw it at the car park, but I saw myself driving an Opel Manta with my mom and dad seated in the car. And my mom was telling me, oh, my son, I'm glad you brought this car back with you to Ghana. And I thank God. And I went into sleep like that. You see, when God had to create Eve, he made a deep sleep to fall upon Adam. And they say that he took a rib, one of his ribs. I bet you all men go and do an X-ray and see if any of your ribs is missing. But don't the ribs cover our heart? Don't the ribs cover our hearts? I'm asking you. So one of the things that was on his heart, because after Adam looked at all the animals and he named them. God accepted them. So whatever incidents happen in your life, what you pronounce it is what it comes to you. You see? And so when God created Eve and showed it to Adam said, this is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. You'll be called Eve because you are the mother of all living. What the thing that was on Adam's mind when he saw the animals, he noticed that the animals were in pairs. You see Nentri, and then you see Nentriwa. You see Akoko, and then you see Akokowa. You see a male cock and a female hen, and you see the other animals, the male and the female. And I know the question that will come to his mind, I'm seeing everyone too, why am I only one? And that was when God made a deep sleep to fall upon him. And he took. So you also, in communing with your own heart on your bed and being still, you do what God did. You see your goal, whatever it is that you want to achieve. See it not from the beginning, but the end. What would you want? And Jesus said, whatsoever things you desire, when you pray, believe that you receive them and you shall have them. Not believe that it will come to you, but believe them that you have received it, you have it. And it shall be done unto you. You will have it. See, last I was telling you when Cyril had a challenge, he saw Reverend Kwame Techi, and Kwame Techi asked him, do you know creative imagination? And he said, yeah. He said, and Reverend Kwame Techi showed him creative imagination, how to do it. And he applied it. And that was how he got out of the challenge. There was a gentleman, a friend of ours, who sold spare parts. But before he sold spare parts, he was a tailor. He was coming to me. He had a car at Odona, which was on repairs. And he would come to me and, like for money. And one day when he came, I didn't have sufficient money. But I looked at him and I said, this will be the time to teach this guy creative imagination. I said, my brother, I don't have money on me, but I have this book. I will show you, but when you go home, read this book also. And then the next day he called me and said, hey, I didn't know such a thing existed. I said, you do as I have told you. I've shown you. He did it, and I had given him close to sew for me. He didn't even sew one. Because he was there, and some spare parts people who were going to Nigeria came to him and asked him to go to Nigeria with them, and they bought spare parts, and he was the one who brought them. And he came and told me that when he went on just one trip, the money he had. Then I told him, I have plenty of money in Nigeria, and if he can go to Nigeria, I will show him where he can get the money, or when he meets me, I can give him the money to buy spare parts, and then when he sells it, he can give the money back to me. Because that time, you couldn't bring money back from Nigeria, plenty of cash like that. When they catch you, they will seize it. And so he came, I gave him the money, he bought the spare parts, and that's how I got my money back in Ghana. Eventually, he became one of the biggest spare parts sellers in Ghana. He is no longer in the spare part business. I don't know why, it's a long story. But to show you, his state of consciousness then produced the experience that he had of being the leading spare part dealer in Ghana. He even went to Harvard School, and he employed an American white man as one of his managers. He did very well, but sometimes, like Reverend Isaac Eshon says, Ghana, their recipe for success is increase price, reduce quality. And so, if you are doing business in Ghana, don't increase price and reduce quality. Increase quality and maintain a price level which will be good for you and good for your customers. But it's 11:30 or 10:30. Is it 10:30 or 11:30? It's 11:30. What I have been telling you is that your state of consciousness determines your experiences. As you sow, so shall you reap. You sow an idea, you reap an experience. So watch your thoughts. If you find yourself thinking negatively, correct it quickly. One woman was walking and in a neighborhood where there were thieves, and it was in the night, and she was confronted by someone who wanted to mug her, and then she was trying to remember herself. She said, "I'm covered with feathers. I'm covered with feathers." But the idea was that like God's mercy covers her. And I think the mugger thought this woman must be crazy, and he walked off. And the woman said, "Yeah, my affirmation has worked. But I'm covered with feathers." She said, "I'm covered with feathers." But in her mind, in her heart, she was talking about, "I'm covered with, the wings of God." And so the right ideas. Yeah? Sow the right ideas. When people tell you Ghana is hard, the first thing you should do is go to a bank and stand there and look at the people going inside and coming out. What are they doing? They are going inside, they are putting money inside, and they are taking money. If Ghana was hard, would they be going to the bank to put money there and take money? And free yourself from that thought and say, God is the source of my supply. Anytime you hear Ghana is hard, you just say, as for me, God is the source of my supply. And God can and will meet all my human needs on time and in divine order. And just keep that thought and feeling. And you see that as you maintain that thought, you draw the people and circumstances to supply you with what is needed. And so, when I say your state of consciousness determines your experiences, commune with your own heart on your bed and be still. And when communing with your own heart, think on thoughts that are true, that are honest, that are pure, that are virtuous, and worthy of good report. When you think on these things, it will be like Christmas for a young boy or a young child. Christmas, gifts, and the Lord will bring circumstances and people into your life to give you. Because look, every person who is rich, the Lord brings circumstances and people, make them rich. Okay? Yesterday, the person who is fixing our CCTV, when we closed, he said, "Oh, I'm thinking of going to China." And I called him. I said, "Look, everyone in business should find a place in China where he can do business. And for your business, I can show you where to buy CCTV cameras and all the things, and show you who can ship it to you, who can take you out, and you will be successful." See, when he expressed his thought, I shared with him. And so he says when he finishes the fixtures, he will come and we'll sit down, and I'll show him, I'll give him the addresses. One lady who was introduced to me by one of my clients, Cyril, you remember that lady who came and we did a letter for her? She went to China and introduced her to people. When her thing came, she's now, yesterday, she opened a new place at the University of Ghana. And so, keep the picture, keep the image in your mind. Keep the idea in your mind, and God will bring it out as an experience for you. And you see, we have God beyond creation and God in creation. The God in creation is in your heart. Not your physical heart which pumps blood. Because Solomon's writing, he says, the wise man's heart is at his right hand, but the fool's heart is at his left. So let the wise man's heart be here and commune with your heart. Put all the good thoughts in it. And when you sleep in it, it's like you have dug the ground and put the seed in there. When you dig a ground and you put the seed in there, you know that if it has rain and sunlight, the tree will come out, right? Mm-hmm. So when you nurture, you keep on nurturing the thought and the feeling, pump, the experience comes out. And you have nothing to do with the experience, because God will bring the people and the circumstances. Nobody reigns here. Nobody shines, switches on the sun to shine. You understand? Life does what it does. And so life will do what it always does. And you will find yourself a successful person. Namaste.